I'm now going to turn it over to Melina Long, Executive Director of Your Future is Our Business. Melina, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Hello and welcome everyone to the Volunteer to Career Expo brought to you by Santa Cruz Public Libraries and Your Future is Our Business. My name is Melina and I am the Executive Director of Your Future is Our Business. And we are a Santa Cruz County nonprofit that provides career exploration experiences just like this one for students all across Santa Cruz County to learn about different careers. And the purpose of today's event is to share with you the journeys of 3 different speakers. So you're going to hear about the impact that volunteering and work-based learning experiences can have on your career. You're going to hear how, where, why, and what first steps they took and where it's led them. And as you listen, I ask you to think about what interests you, something that you'd like to try or learn more about, and also how you want to make a difference in your community. So for the first half of the presentation, you're going to hear from these fantastic speakers, Martiza Tamayo-Sarver, Laurel Maxwell, and Carissa Lemos. And then for the second half, you get to visit these breakout rooms to learn about different opportunities. Again, volunteer rooms are rooms 1 through 4. And then the career and technical education room is in room 5. And you can learn about free courses that you can take in music production, recording arts, agriculture production, fire technology, and more. Or you can also choose room 7 where you can learn about homework resources. And then at the very end, please make sure to return back to the main room to do a quick poll. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Martiza Tamayo-Sarver, Director of Operations at Takawao Child and Family Therapy Center and attorney at law. Martiza, welcome and take it away.
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me. Again, my name is Martiza, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of my journey in volunteering. For me, volunteering sort of started in a little weird way. A teacher, when I was about 10 years old, I was in 5th grade, asked if I would translate for my parent-teacher conference. I'm a child of Mexican immigrants, first generation born here. And the school didn't have enough resources for translating at the time. So I was really excited at the fact that my teacher even wanted me to help do this. And then I thought, okay, this is a good thing. It's all going to be positive. So I got a chance to volunteer. And one of the greatest things about starting off and doing something like this so young is you realize the impact that you have. At the moment, I realized that I was helping my mom who only spoke Spanish. And at the same time, I was also helping my teacher. After that, sort of helping others sort of came easy for me in the sense that I did want to help. I didn't always know what I wanted to do, and that was okay. So for me, my path of volunteering sort of changed along the way. And it was sort of guided by interests that I had along the way. So in junior high and high school, I did tutoring and tutored other students. I enjoyed working with my peers, and so I did that for a while. And then I went on to college and I volunteered at a preschool. It was Bing Nursery, which is well known here in the Bay Area, and got a chance to volunteer with teachers in classrooms. I was interested in child development at the time, so it made sense for me to do something that was interesting, and it was working with young children. I would say that, you know, from that point on, I had sort of an interest in social-emotional development. I had interest in young children and adolescents and sort of their development and growth. I took a year off in college and I ended up doing this wonderful program called GeoMed. And GeoMed was sort of a medically bent Peace Corps program where I lived out in a rural community called El Canton San Jose. And it was very small. Not all the homes had potable water. And we got a chance to live out there in the community. And one of the things that really stood out to me from the experience is when we walked in, we actually asked the community, what do you want us to do for you? And one of the things they told us they wanted was housewives wanted to be taught first aid. And I thought to myself, what? This is what they want? Well, I realized that housewives were the ones that were actually taking care of all the medical issues. The closest ER was about 2 hours away, and it had very limited resources. And so while we were there, we got a chance to teach housewives first aid. And so it was sort of an eye-opening experience to realize that I could offer that I could actually teach that. And I moved on then to other areas. I do have to mention that I did meet my future husband at GeoMed, who was also a volunteer as well. He went on to medical school. I sort of had another change in my trajectory because at the time I was a pre-med student. He and I sat in a coffee shop one day and he said, hey, you like arguing? Why not go to law school? So I did. After doing law school, I realized that I could really help advocate for others as well. And it was through different ways that I was able to use these skills. I then moved on to working at schools with my own children in their own public schools. Volunteered as Project Cornerstone. I don't know if many of you know of Project Cornerstone, but I got to read the Have You Filled a Bucket Today, which is about, you know, how we care for others, and recognizing your emotions is something else we were able to do, and talk about coping skills when life gets hard. I moved on then from that point and became a board member at my local school. Board members, you know, decide how the trajectory and the mission of what you're working on. So for us, it was for the school, the curriculum. And for me, my passion again was the social emotional development of children. So that carried on as well when I joined a foundation and was working on fundraising. That's a little bit of sort of my background. And one of the things I want you to take away from volunteering is that there isn't any perfect path. You have to let it flow and you have to sort of roll with it. And when you do, I think things really do unfold and it moves you in a direction maybe that you didn't expect. And it allows you to also learn from others, which is one of the takeaways I've had. For me, I feel like volunteering has taught me a lot more, and it's helped me grow as a person. But I think at the end of the day, you end up making your community better. And so for me, you know, that's my pitch to you, that be open to trying different things and grow with it, and just keep taking that step forward, even if it feels, well, is this the right thing or not? Because I think that's when you'll become the helper that our community needs. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you, Martiza. Do you have any advice for students who are interested in going into your field?
So for like the legal field?
Yes.
I think my advice is study any area you really enjoy in undergraduate. Just because you want to go into law, you know, into law, doesn't mean you have to do, for example, political science. If art is something you really enjoy, do that. I had a lot of law school friends who were English majors, philosophy majors. For me, I was a human biology major with a minor in psychology. So I think, you know, pursue those passions that you really enjoy in your school today. And if law is something you're looking into, definitely pursue that as well. I would say also talk to other lawyers to sort of figure out the different paths that you can take with a law degree, because you can do a lot. You can work for nonprofit organizations. You can work in the private sector. I actually worked in the government for quite a while. I worked for the city of Cleveland, and I also worked for the federal department, for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So you can do so many wonderful things and still continue helping your community.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes, so I just wanted to hear more about your career. What is your day like today? What are your responsibilities in your job?
Well, so today, and I didn't mention this, but today I'm working as a director of business operations for a child and family therapy center. So I spend my day, believe it or not, trying to improve operations and trying to make things easier for therapists to be able to deliver really good, high quality mental health services to children and teenagers. At the same time, I also try to make the process easier for families as well. So for me, you know, I wake up, I do things from sometimes boring things like from billing, but I'm working on partnerships. Today I spoke with some psychiatrists to try to develop a partnership with a psychiatry team that would help families who may need medication. So it varies from day to day and it keeps it exciting.
Okay, and what would you say is the most unexpected thing about your job?
The most unexpected thing? Probably that I don't always know what my day is going to be like. So I may have plans to do something a certain way, and then something happens, I get a call, where I need to address an issue, and I take care of it. I have to have that flexibility to move along with what I'm doing. So.
Okay, great. And then do you have any last words to share with our potential volunteers?
I think, like I said, pursue your passions and being open to the new experiences and what they can teach you. I think when you volunteer, always remember that we as a volunteers don't always know best. That it's a really good idea to always ask your community, the organization you're working with, what they need, because all of us have strengths, no matter where we come from, no matter how much we have, and we're able to offer something for someone.
Great advice. All right, thank you, Martiza.
Thanks.
And now we're going to hear from Laurel.
My name is Laurel Maxwell. I'm the guest services manager at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History, and our mission is to ignite shared experiences and unexpected connections. As a guest services manager, I'm the eyes and ears of the museum. So that means I make sure it's guest ready. I incorporate guest feedback into our programs, and think about how the guest would perceive what we're doing and try to make it better. So I'm in charge of sort of the general operations of how we run our the guest services. I provide training for front desk staff as well as scheduling, and I also work cross-departmentally to make sure policies and procedures are sound for our guests. As a teen, I was a bookworm and a competitive swimmer. So most of my time was spent either outdoors, in or by the water. That's where I was. So my head was either in a book or in the water. As a teen, if you had asked me what I wanted to do for a career, I would have told you it was something around swimming. That was my passion. I was in the pool twice a day. It was sort of like a full-time job. So that, as a teen, I was interested in swimming. I didn't have a grasp of what I wanted to do for my future. The only things that I knew was I enjoyed working with people, and that I also had a passion for working with kids. So I'm going to share sort of how my volunteer and athletic experience influenced the career that I have now. So after college, I got my degree in education. And after college, I decided that I wasn't quite ready to begin a full-time career. So I joined the Peace Corps, and that is run through part of the U.S. government. And as a Peace Corps volunteer, I really got to integrate into a community that was completely different from my own. I spent 2.5 years in the Dominican Republic as a special education promoter. And what I loved about Peace Corps is that I could really combine all of my passions into one role. So I was able to work with people that have disabilities. I got to teach, travel, and then I love reading. And so, like I said, I always had my head in a book. And so I established a library for a school I was working at, where students could actually have access to texts. So I just felt that was really got to help me with all of my passions rolled into one. I got to train Dominican educators in teaching techniques, wrote guides for volunteers on how to do that as well. So I was really able to find my niche by creating a position which could unite all of my interests. And this really gave purpose to my service and was something that I could be proud of. I was motivated to do the difficult work because my heart was invested in the outcome. And I got to make, in the Dominican Republic, I got to make connections through personal relationships, which is something I carried into my role as a teacher in my current position at the MA. Upon returning from Peace Corps, I continued to have a passion for volunteering. And so I was thinking about going back to swimming. What could I do to continue that passion of swimming and teaching? And I volunteered to coach a Special Olympics in Santa Cruz County. And I did this for 2 years. Again, this volunteer experience brought together my swimming and teaching skills. And I got to work with folks that had disabilities. For this role, I ran swim practices once a week. And then I had the opportunity to take athletes to Summer Games in Davis, which is sort of like the biggest competition for Special Olympics in Northern California. And what I really liked about this opportunity was I got to interact with the athletes in a personal manner, not as coaching as a pool. And while we were waiting for events, we got to bond over blank Uno, a lot of Uno. That was just a different way to connect with folks. And what I loved about Special Olympics is that each athlete was so positive about the practices that they went to. And it was a reminder for me of how sports can provide joy and how that they can create a sense of belonging for a lot of people. From both my time as a competitive swimmer and as a swim coach, I found many skills which can transfer from competition to career. A lot of times it's hard to think about as an athlete, how can I turn this into a career besides being a coach? But if you think about it, a lot of what you do as an athlete are some really special skills. So you really have to learn how to manage your time. When you have practices after school or before school, you need to figure out how can you study, how can you practice, and then how do you also have time to hang out with your friends? Or if you have a job, how do you also incorporate that into your schedule? As an athlete, you're also reliable. Your teammates rely on you to be at practice. You show up for each other and you unite. You work as a unit to get better at what you do, as well as engage in competition. You also are engaged in teamwork. So you think about what are the strengths and improvements and weaknesses of your team, and how can you work together to be a better unit and work together. For sports, you have to be really persistent. You have to put in the difficult work, but you keep going because you want to improve. You want to build skills. Maybe you want to make it to that state competition. And as well, with sports, it really helps you with self-discipline. You have to get yourself to practice on time. You are organizing your daily schedule, and you show up. Even if you had a really hard day at practice, even if maybe a competition didn't go very well, you keep showing up because it's something that you love to do. And so it's just interesting to think how sports can connect back to some really important skills as you look for a career. So thinking back about volunteering and swimming, how do these unique experiences influence my career path? For me, I continued to follow my passions and what brought me joy by honing in on my different skill sets. I taught for 7 years in bilingual and special education, where I got to work with kids. And I realized I enjoyed being with people, but I was ready to move out of the classroom, which brought me to my current position at the museum. And before COVID, when I was on site, I got to interact with a wide range of people, from guests to folks that came in off the street just to chat. And this happened on a daily basis. And this really built on my strength of quickly being able to build rapport with anyone that came in and to make them feel welcome. And this skill of building rapport was essential when I was teaching, coaching, and a Peace Corps volunteer. So when you're looking for a career, I would recommend that you start with your passions and interests. Look for organizations whose mission or ideas you can connect with. See if they have volunteer opportunities or internships that you could become involved in. And if you don't see something at the moment, don't be afraid to reach out. and let the organization know that you're interested in upcoming opportunities and to stay curious. I began teaching because I enjoyed working with kids and I wanted to make a difference. This began when I taught swim lessons in high school. Even though I wasn't teaching in a classroom, I was learning about the foundations of teaching. So for example, I was learning how to get folks' attention, I was learning how to keep people engaged and to plan, and to keep them motivated. And so I could then look for a job where I could continue to connect with people and build upon the skills that I had developed. As well, don't be afraid to pivot or be flexible in your career path choices. You may love one job for a bit and then change direction if something else grabs your attention. As well, think about how your skills can cross into other areas. For example, coaching and teaching are similar in that you're showing someone how to complete a task. Teaching, I built a community of learners, and at the MA, I connect with community by welcoming guests, being an attentive listener, and asking questions. You could also consider how do your current or emerging skills can be expanded into other roles within an organization or into a parallel career. So even if a job might not be the perfect fit, you can find a way to work with your passions into a new role. So for example, I placed an emphasis on accessibility as part of my job to make the museum more welcoming to guests. And then my last piece of advice is to use joy as a factor to gauge your interest level in a career. If you are struggling to really love what you do, start exploring what does bring you joy and find a career in that area that is pulling at your heartstrings and is making you excited. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have good luck in your career journey.
Thank you so much, Laurel, and I love that advice. Follow what finds you joy.
Thank you.
Awesome advice. Okay, up next, we're going to hear from Carissa. Carissa, are you ready?
Hello, yes, I am ready. Sorry about that. Good evening, I think. It's evening-ish. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I am Carissa Lemos. I'm the interim principal at Santa Cruz Gardens Elementary. But what's cool is I've actually worked at all of the schools in the district, so it's possible that I've met some of you. So I am a principal, which means that every day is different, and I have a plan every day, and what I do every day is rarely a part of that. I recently have been saying at the end of every day, I've never loved a job more. And it's so true. And if you had asked me, Carissa, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you want to do with your life when I was younger? If you had suggested principal, I would have laughed. The way that I know that today I'm doing exactly what I am meant to do is because I never would have imagined doing it. As a kid, man, school was not my thing. It was really hard for me. I didn't do well in school, and I also didn't feel like trying hard. I think in part because it was hard for me, I didn't feel like if I did work hard, it would go any better. And so I just kind of thought, why bother? But also as a kid, I just had a kind of relentless curious nature, and I wanted to know more about everything. I wanted to be outside all the time. I wanted to know about places beyond the town that I grew up in. And so that meant that I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to travel a lot. My freshman year of high school, I actually ended up getting kind of sick, and I missed about 6 months of the year. And to start high school that way, I kind of learned, well, I'm just going to skate by and do what I can and not do what I don't want to do. And just kind of got stuck in my own little bubble of the world. Then I got to go to college. I was really fortunate to grow up in a family where college was like not optional. And so I went to college, and I spent more time out of the country than in the country in college. So I got to live in places like South Africa, Uganda, Rwanda, Nepal. I think you can see behind me some of the photographs that I took in Rwanda. And while I was there, while I was in Rwanda and also Uganda, I was assigned, as a student there, you are assigned to volunteer placement. And I'm going to come back to that assigned placement because it's It's pretty important, I think, when it comes to volunteering. I was assigned to work at a school for kids who are blind. And in Uganda, they practice many different tribal religions. And if you have a disability, or if you are, have a defect, a birth defect, a birthmark, anything like that, they believe that it's like a spirit, and it's really kind of a faux pas. And so, there were kids at this school who had been found living in a closet because their parents were ashamed or scared or any number of things. So I taught there. I didn't know anything about teaching. I had never taught before, but I had had some volunteer opportunities when I was traveling. I had spent some time in Mexico as a kid, working at a couple different schools there that were run by friends of my family. And so I thought, well, I'll give this a try. And I was there for about 6 months. And towards the end of my time there, I sat down with the headmaster, which is kind of their version of a principal. And I said, what can I do? Right? I'm here, but I'm going to go back to the United States, and I want to keep this going. And he said, don't come back. Don't bring your friends back. What we need is not for you or people from your country to move here and help us. What we need is for you and people from your country to live in the communities where you live, where you've grown up, where your families are, and transform those communities so that everyone around you is living in a way where they're aware of other people, they're aware of their communities, and how and why they should work to make them better. And I thought, oh, okay, not quite sure how to do that. But I came back from Uganda. It was my last semester of college. I graduated and was kind of floundering. I didn't really know what I was going to do. But I had a connection here in Santa Cruz at an outdoor school. So I moved there and I taught there and kind of continued in that education thing. And then I got really involved in their adventure department, their ropes course. And one day, I don't know if you know what a canopy tour is, but it's zip lines that are connected, or that connect trees. And I was at the outdoor school, and one of the teachers who had brought their class to the outdoor school said, hey, I have this student, and we don't think he should do the ropes course. And I said, oh, well, why not? And they said, oh, well, he has autism. I don't think he can do it. And I said, well, has he tried to do it before and it didn't work out? And they said, no, we just don't think he can do it. And I said, well, would it be okay if I tried? And they kind of laughed and okay, good luck. And so we did. We tried. I said, hey, to the student, have you ever worn a, harness? And he said, no. I said, well, let me show you. This is what it looks like. Do you want to try? I said, yeah. I said, okay. He gets the harness on. I said, hey, have you ever, hung from a zip line before? He said, no. I said, do you want to watch me do it? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Do you want to try? He said, yeah. We went through the whole canopy tour. It's about 2 hours long. When he was leaving every platform, he would say, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And then he would get to the other end and he said, I'm alive. And we got to the end of the whole canopy tour and he zipped from the tree onto the ground and his teacher and the principal were there crying. And I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the equivalent to the kids in the blind school in Uganda that headmaster was talking about. I need to be in my community working to elevate and level the playing field for all members of the community. And for me, that passion was kids with disabilities. The next week, I enrolled in a credential program and got my teaching credential. I taught special ed, I've taught gen ed, and then I worked as a behaviorist for a while until I became a principal. I've just stayed engaged and have worked hard and become passionate. But the thing is, it was those volunteer opportunities that were kind of assigned to me that I didn't necessarily choose that have led me to where I am now. And you've already heard from a couple other people the importance of being willing to pivot. My degree, my undergraduate degree is in sociology. Then I got one in special ed, and now I'm in graduate school as a principal studying neuropsychology and behavior. So you might do something for a while, love it, and then find something else that you love and want to do that. That's okay. You might find one thing that you love and you do it forever. That's cool too. What's important, and what I know has been really important for myself, is that you do something you love. And also, you make sure that what you're doing is in congruence, is in alignment with how you want the world around you to be. So as a kid, I was pretty naughty, and I got in a lot of trouble, and I didn't want to do my school. And now, those students are my very favorite students, because I know how it felt to be that way and to feel stuck, and like maybe something was wrong with me, or grown-ups didn't care about me. And now, send me all those kids. All those kids are welcome at Santa Cruz Gardens, because I see them and I get it, and I love interacting with them. So don't be afraid to pivot, like Laurel said. Don't be afraid to change careers. Also, don't be afraid of volunteer opportunities that you're presented with that may not seem like what you want to do. Because how do you know? How do you know until you do it? I think it's really important more every day that we're engaging in volunteer opportunities. Like I'm volunteering right now because I believe in our community and I believe in the young people of our community and the transformative power that you have to make this place how you want it to be. And the way that you get the experience to do that as a career, in part, is through volunteering. So do that. You need to volunteer? Call me at Santa Cruz Gardens. We'll get you plugged in. You're going to meet with a bunch of leaders in the community that have tons of cool opportunities to volunteer and also grow your skills. Do that. Don't be afraid of the volunteer opportunities that come your way that might not be your first choice, because they might be like your forever choice, and you never know. So, thank you guys for being here. Just being here is telling of your commitment to transforming our community, making it into the place you want it to be. So thanks for that. And I hope that I see you around, right? Volunteering. And if you do, see me, introduce yourself. Tell me who you are. Tell me that you were here, and we can talk future together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carissa. It was very inspiring. And thank you to our other two speakers, Laurel and Martiza, for sharing their stories. We truly appreciate you for taking the time to share your knowledge. And now I'm going to pass it over back to Sarah to talk about the breakout rooms.
So a big thank you again to our three presenters. Thank you so much for telling us just part of your story and how you got to where you are today. We really appreciate you volunteering your day with us.